Well, hello everyone, this is Mohammad Badruddija back again with another lab from XXE vulnerability, that is the server-side vulnerability, and I am going to solve these labs from Web Security Academy introduced by Portswigger. And this warning is always for you. This video and its contents are only for educational and awareness purpose, and I do not support any unethical or illegal act. That's been said, let's see what we have today. So in the previous labs, we already covered all the labs from blind XXE, where we have two approaches to exploit or to verify or test the blind XXE. The first one by triggering the SSRF, okay, and the second one is by triggering the error. In SSRF, actually we pass or we serve the malicious DTD from the attacker controlled domain or attacker controlled server, and in the second approach, we try to enforce the web application to parse the XML error. Fine. Now today we have to find the hidden attack surface for XXE injection. Up to now, what we see that whenever we generate a request or we request anything to the server, in the request, within the request, we see that there is some XML data. But what if you do not see any XML content in the request? So at that instant you have to test again. This is another approach to test the XXE injection vulnerability. So attack surface for XXE injection vulnerability is obvious in many cases because the application's normal HTTP traffic includes requests that contains data in XML format. In other cases, the attack surface is less visible. However, if you look in the right place, you will find XXE attack surface in requests that do not contain any XML. Fine. So you will see that in a minute. And for that, you use XInclude parameter. Fine. And that's why it's known as XInclude attack. So this is basically a sub form of XXE attack. Some application receives client submitted data and embed that data into the server side, and in the server it is going to embed into the XML document. An example of this occur when client submitted data is placed into a backend SOAP request, which is then processed by the backend SOAP service. So you might have heard about the REST and SOAP services, right? So this is your homework to see what is a SOAP service and what is a REST service and what are the differences between SOAP service and REST service. And this is very, very important to understand SOAP service. What is SOAP service and what is REST service? This is very important in terms of API penetration testing. In this situation, you cannot carry out a classic XXE attack because you don't control the entire XML document, and you cannot define or modify a doc type element because you will not see anything like XML in the request, so you cannot pass the doc type element or any external entity like that. So however, you might be able to use XInclude instead. So XInclude is a part of the XML specification that allows an XML document to be built from subdocument. So once because you can submit the input, right? So in the input, if you put XInclude, that will act as a sub XML content inside the XML, as you have passed in the previous labs external entity inside external entity. So it is something like this. So you can place an XInclude attack with any data value in an XML document. So the attack can be performed in situations where you only control a single item of data that is placed into a server-side XML document. So to perform an XInclude attack, you need to refer the XInclude namespace and provide the path of the file that you wish to include. So for example, here as you can see that the attacker can pass something like this. So here it's XInclude, then it's using parse equal to text. This is the parameter, I will explain that. And there is a link of a system file which is etc parsewd file. But why we need to put this parse equal to text? Because this XInclude will always give you the output in the XML format. So if you want to change the output format, or if you want to change the format, so you have to pass this parameter, which is parse, and here you need to specify the format in which you want the output. So I want the output in text format, and it will give me the text format, because this etc passwd file is not an XML file. Fine. So that's been said, we already open up the lab here, and let's see. So we are going to exploit XInclude to retrieve the file, and the agenda of this lab is, this lab has a check stock feature that embeds the user input inside a server-side XML document that is subsequently parsed. Because you don't control the entire XML document, you cannot define a DTD. So if you cannot define the DTD, you cannot launch a classic XXE attack. So to solve the lab, you have to inject the XInclude statement to retrieve the content of the etc passwd file. And within this lab there is a hint, and the hint is same like what I described before, that XInclude will try to parse the included document as XML. So because our file etc passwd is not an XML, so you have to change the format, and to change the format you have to use this parameter, and its value is the format, right? Okay, so fine, that's perfect. So now to save the time, I'm just going to copy this one and I'm going to paste it here. Fine. So we have to specify something like this instead of product ID, and for that we have to capture the request. So let's go and we will solve it. So come here, I love babies, so I'm gonna click view details for these, and here I'm going to enable the burp proxy on my browser, and here in the burp proxy you must be sure that your intercept is on, and then I'm going to check stock, and we have a request here. So if you see this request, you do not have any kind of XML in it, but before, in the previous lab of blind XXE, or the first lab, second lab, in all those labs you can see easily that there is some kind of XML content was there. So let's see, first I'm going to right click on it, and I'm gonna say do intercept and response to this request. In that way you can see, once you click on forward button, you can see the response of it, otherwise it will directly go to another request. Now you can see there is response, and the response is 109. Now again I wanna make sure you understand that. So if I click on check stock, you can see the request, and this time I'm not going to right click, and I'm not going to choose this do intercept and response to this request, and I'm directly gonna click on forward button, and you will see that we will not see any request. It's gone. So once we click forward, it does not show you the response. So okay, now again I'm going to click on check stock, come here, and the value of product ID, here I'm going to put this value. So I'm going to put it in one line and just copy this. So here, as you can see, we got this XInclude from this URL. Oh, come on. So we got XInclude from this URL, and we save this value in a parameter or in a variable xi. Then in the next line, because we need to pass XInclude, so because we already saved this XInclude value in the xi variable, so here we define xi variable, and we say include parse is equal to text, which will define the format. So for now I am not going to put that. Let's see what we will get. Okay, paste that, and let's go. Just say copy that, go back and just paste it here. That's it. Again, I'm going to choose up to here and Control U to URL encode it and just forward the request. So if we forward the request is already gone. Let's see we have anything here or not. So could not fetch stock levels, right? Okay, come back here and go to the HTTP history, take this post request, and I'm going to send this post request to the repeater. Go to the repeater and send this request again so we can see the response. So response is 109. So what we are going to do here is I'm again going to put that, and I am going to make it URL encode with Control U and send the request again. And this time you can see here it is passing XML parser error with the exception line number 3 and column number 103 error attempting to parse XML file, but because this is not the XML file, so it is not going to show you the content. So to put the exact format, to get the result in exact format, you have to define this parameter, which is parse is equal to text, and just hit enter, and this time we will get the result, and here you go. Fine. So that's it. You can see now we get the content of etc passwd file and within the error. So that's it for this video. If you like the content, please like, subscribe and share. See you in the next video. Bye.